Good evening, friends. This side Rahul Magan here is Group Chief Executive Officer, Treasury Consulting, and also a venture capitalist. Now, standing today from our Singapore office, we are going to be shooting a pretty important video, which is nothing but the beginning of the end of the Ponzi scheme. From the last 2 years, we are talking very specifically that how SoftBank is actually operating. Now, if you look at the last 2 weeks and preferably last 2 to 3 weeks of the development that has happened, we got to know that SoftBank is merely towards the crash. In this video, we are going to be raising a lot of serious concerns that what would happen and what has led to that. Now, first of all, we need to appreciate that SoftBank has reported around $4.6 billion of loss in this current quarter. With due respect to everybody out here, those who are watching this video and those who do not watch this video, is that this $4.6 billion is not a right number. The reason of the fact is that you recorded WeWork at $48 billion and you yourself came in the public domain saying that it's valued less than $8 billion or closer by $8 billion. Even if for a while we assume that the $8 billion quantification, whatever you received, is correct, it means that there is a drawdown of not less than $40 billion in your P&L. And we should not forget that WeWork is not the only loss-making company they are having. There are multiple loss-making companies we have in the books of SoftBank, just like Uber, Ola, I would say Lyft, and the list is pretty long. So I seriously doubt about the credibility of the $4.6 billion number being given by SoftBank in the public domain. But I know there would be many people, those who do not know about it, they will do the thumbs down on our YouTube video because they feel that the number which is being reported by SoftBank has to be correct. Just like many people in India felt that DHFL, Diwan Housing, ILFS, Infrastructure Leasing, ICICI Bank, Yes Bank, whatever number they were reporting is absolutely correct. No, today we got to know that around 90% of the people, those who reported their numbers in Indian financial statements, are incorrect. And almost every day one or another company is losing the credentials in India. So when it comes to SoftBank, if you are thinking that they reported first loss in the last 14 quarters, then you are mistaken. This number is not $4.6 billion, this number is higher. However, we need to appreciate that there are very limited number of people we have worldwide, those who know how to do the fund accounting. Since people do not know how to do the fund accounting, so it is very difficult for most of the people to understand, most of the people, how it get done. Secondly, a news came in the public domain in Singaporean newspaper and of course worldwide, which is that SoftBank is desperately looking for $100 billion as far as this their vision fund second is concerned. I seriously doubt that from where this $100 billion is come, because $100 billion is seriously a very huge amount. Now it's not a $1 billion, it's not a $2 billion. Now a report came that the Vision Fund second, the two biggest investors, and out of two, the one biggest investor, which is Saudi Investment Fund, they are really not interested in investing in SoftBank Vision Fund second. We already got to know that maybe probably 2 months before they issued a statement, and that statement was that basically they would be investing only a part of their profit. Basically they will not invest the capital, rather if they're investing $100 as a capital, and for a minute assume they're making 8% return, so total is 108. So that 8, a part of that 8, they would be investing in the Vision Fund second. But we do not know till what extent this information is correct, because that came in the public. But one thing which is correct is that Aramco today, we got to know that, which is 17th November, we got to know that Aramco is heading ahead with roughly $1.7 trillion of valuation. I am not commenting whether this valuation is right, this valuation is wrong. That's up to the investment banker, and the time will tell till what extent is this correct or wrong. But we know that the work which investment bankers generally play, till what extent the work they play, effective 2008, a tremendous amount of time they got fined. And to be honest, no harsh word, but I think 2 days ago, UBS, United Bank of Switzerland, fined around 11.2 million Sing dollars, and around 400 million Hong Kong dollars. So two big financial institutions. So when we're getting this information, we need to keep to whatever unfortunately unrest which is happening in Hong Kong, keep this aside. We need to give two information. So number one, which is that around 11.2 million Sing dollar is being fined by MAS, Monetary Authority of Singapore, and around 400 million Hong Kong dollar is being fined by HKMA, Hong Kong Monetary Authority. So if Aramco is valued at 1.7 trillion dollar, only the time will tell till what extent this valuation is correct, till what extent this valuation is not correct. We do not know actually. But Aramco is the major investor in the Vision Fund that we know. If this IPO turn out to be profitable, then SoftBank will have a single option that they will get some money. But I don't know till what extent the IPO would be successful. Only the time will tell, because two biggest IPOs currently on the table. One is by Alibaba, which is Hong Kong, and this is a fortunate news for Hong Kong considering all this mess up that happened. Secondly is the Aramco. We need to wait and watch how it happened, but Aramco is the biggest deal that's going to happen at least for the year 2019, and specifically when the year is about to close. Third important thing which is happening in the SoftBank, which is the huge amount of debt SoftBank is accumulating, and the CEO himself acknowledged that whenever he closed the eyes, he see his bad decisions, and specifically the WeWork. Now, when it comes to the SoftBank debt and the rising losses, like I don't know how many of you following, like this month is always very important for financial institution, because in November, a lot of American companies, basically the public listed American companies declared their results in public domain, and international media scrutinized that. You know, like Uber reported around $1 billion of loss, Lyft also reported loss, and last but not the least, WeWork also reported the loss. I know you won't trust me, so I'm carrying this newspaper with me. It's a Business Times. It is much better newspaper we have than the paid and sold media, which is Economic Times. Now it's a 15th November newspaper. In this newspaper, if we go like this, you know, we need to go till the last to get the SoftBank news, which is that. Now, which is this? You can see that. Now, this is Business Times Singapore. Now, page number 18, 15th November, page number 18. It suggests that WeWork losses widened to $1.25 billion. WeWork losses widened to $1.25 billion amid record office space expansion. But before reading this, I don't know you know it or not, but WeWork having a substantial lease in Hong Kong and Singapore as well. And that's an unfortunate part that both Hong Kong and Singapore regulators, respectively HKMA, Hong Kong Monetary Authority, and Monetary Authority of Singapore, said not a single statement about the WeWork. I don't know what, but maybe they have their own limitations, or maybe they are watching the scenario. God knows. But one thing which came in the public domain is that WeWork is shedding a lot of asset base, which is in English known as asset monetization. WeWork is ready for asset monetization in Hong Kong, and they are giving up the 6 big places in Hong Kong. We need not to tell that Hong Kong is more expensive than Singapore at some, you know, if we list 10 points, in some points Hong Kong is more expensive, at some points Singapore is more expensive. Overall, both cities are expensive, that we know. So they are shedding 6 places in Hong Kong, and just from my office, which is Marina 1, if you go around 2 kilometer area as a radius, as a circle, you make this as a center point, Marina 1, make this as a circle. There are several locations being acquired by WeWork, like one of them is a city house we have. There are informal talks that are coming on the WhatsApp that WeWork wanted to give up their spaces in Singapore as well. Now Uber is in loss, Ola is in loss, Swiggy, Zomato, and the best entrepreneur of the globe, Bhavesh Agarwal, Oyo, you name, everybody is in losses. Almost everybody is in losses, and losses are not 1 million, 2 million. It's okay, you are 1-2 million losses. Is it billions of losses? Considering all this, SoftBank has reached to a level now when the crash is almost imminent. It's just a matter of time. Like 1.5 years before, when I reported a video about the Indian economy, a bankrupt economy, a lot of criticism happened. A lot of criticism happened to us. But what happened? Today we all know Moody has degraded Indian economy. We're going to have separate video in that regards tonight. Almost every negativity happening to India. When we shooted this video, no one acknowledged us. Now you all know what is the fact of the matter. The moral of the story is clear. People do not want you to foresee anything. People feel that if some numbers coming from SoftBank, JP Morgan, Goldman, Deutsche, HSBC, Barclays, Yes Bank, ICICI, these numbers has to be correct. But that is not the reality. In most of the cases, the numbers which is being reported by big boys, I have just given them an example, the number are not correct. Like UBS is fined by 2 big regulators in the last week. And it's seriously shit that I have not seen a healthy discussion on a business channel. Forget Indian business channels. They are busy in now Supreme Court judgment. So SoftBank crash is imminent. And if SoftBank crash would happen, then I assure you that thousands of startups, could be millions because I have not counted, thousands or maybe millions of startups would die. And if this would happen, then around millions and millions of jobs created by the startups would die. Because if you look at, like, it is 17th November. I don't know how many people following Singapore, but we are a Singapore based company soon turning out to be a bank. Singapore FinTech Festival happened 11th November to 15th. So it divided into 2 parts. First is the 11th to 13th and second is the 14th and 15th. So 11 to 13 is being by the government and MS and they did very well, no doubt about that. 14, 15 was by banks. So okay, nothing great, nothing bad as well. Okay, so. In this FinTech festival, you know, a lot of European people participated. Ireland was there, Luxembourg was there, Amsterdam was there, Copenhagen was there, and the list is very long actually. And I was, of course, I was doing the networking and so many things, but one thing I realized is there are so many FinTech people around at that place, and everyone having a huge funding. I took their business card and came to my office and I checked few names. I don't quote their name in the public domain. I checked few names and what I got to know, they are in deep losses. They are seriously in the deep losses. So and few of them are being invested by the so-called SoftBank and Sequoia. If this story burned up, I'm telling you, thousands and thousands of startups would die, could be millions of jobs would be at stake, and this would be bigger than 2008 financial crisis, I'm telling you. The gravity of 2008 financial crisis would be lesser, and I think much lesser if SoftBank would crash. You would be saying Rahul Magan is an idiot. You can say so. The reason of the matter is that in 2008 financial crisis, almost all banks crashed. JP, Goldman, Deutsche, Barclays, HSBC, the list is long. Lehman, Bear Stearns and all. But this time, one person crashed. SoftBank would wipe out more jobs what being wiped out in 2008. You will realize the total losses, whatever is coming in the public domain in the Wall Street banks is around 100,000 people. And out of these 100,000 people, roughly 90% is from Europe. I tell you, if SoftBank will crash, and this is imminent, we would have seen more than 5 to 6 billion jobs. And Singapore will definitely be not an exception because majority of the FinTech players have heavily invested by SoftBank. Now coming back to the point that how good these people are working is that, I read something for you. The WeWork, the We company, owner of the WeWork said that its net losses in the third quarter more than doubled to 1.25 billion. Very good. As a money-losing shared office operator added a record number of desks to his global network but unable to control rising cost. WeWork opened 97 new sites in the quarter ended September 30th. You know URL losses. You know your IPO has been shut out. You know you're no longer going for IPO. You know SoftBank wanted to control you, but still you added a lot of places. I repeat, WeWork opened 97 new sites in the quarter ended September 30th. Its biggest quarterly expansion ever, irrespective of knowing what has happened, taking its total number of offices to 625 from 528 at the end of the June. So at the end of the June, the total positions they had around 528. At the end of the September, it is 625. The company also expanded in the number of cities in which it operates by 16, increasing it to total world to 127. It means now they have working in around 127 cities worldwide. More importantly, the company has had around 2 billion. The company had around 2 billion cash at the end of the quarter, with 600 million of that from the 3 Asian affiliate. WeWork also had 3.4 billion in commitment from SoftBank Group, which gained control of the company. If you look holistically, which is that the gross profit from the sale of the WeWork membership and service revenue is 808 million and 454 million year ago. So it's almost doubled, but the losses widened to 497 to 1.25 billion. If I get funding, I can expand entire globe. I will open in US, London, Europe, Denmark, Sweden, Australia. I will open everywhere. But is that growth? No, it's not. Treasury Consulting is a 3-year-old company in Singapore, but profitable. Going for a virtual banking license. We get virtual banking license or not, doesn't matter, we will go till the end. But we know one thing, the way these Ponzi scheme is actually created. Now this Ponzi scheme has to fall. Madoff used to believe that no one can trace him. What happened to Madoff, we know. Rajat Gupta believes that he can do whatever insider trading, no one can trace him. You know what happened to Rajat Gupta. One MDB scandal, what happened, without quoting the name of the bank, what happened, you know. BSI being asked by Monetary Authority of Singapore to shut down setup in Singapore because of one MDB scandal. The private banking in Singapore come under scrutiny. Standard Chartered Bank, which used to be a mammoth, in 2008, now it has reduced to almost a very small part of what it used to be. Thousands of jobs going almost every quarter. It's a standard now. HSBC, Hong Kong Shanghai Banking Corporation, which used to be pretty big. People used to die. HSBC, you know where HSBC now. Cutting not less than 10,000 people, and majority is from Singapore. Wealth management positions are also cutting. And I'm not short of list. HP. And I'll never be short of the example. I'm telling you, SoftBank crash is imminent. And probably in a year or so, SoftBank crash will go. The only exception might be if Saudi government comes and rescues SoftBank with a huge bailout package, a huge check written by the respectable Prince Mohammed bin Salem. But I doubt, because I understand he's a businessman and he's not going to be investing in a loss-making propositions, considering that the volatility in the oil has once again started. To cut the long discussion short, we have ample of examples now. The SoftBank crash is imminent, but we need to wait and watch. But to cut the long discussion, I would like to request the regulators to come forward. If I read this again, which is that the company also expanded the number of cities in which operate by 16, increasing its worldwide footprint to 127. So total number of cities is 127. And the number of countries in which it has sites is 4. It has sites by 4 to 33. So total number of countries in which WeWork operate is around 33. I would like to cut my video with a simple request that it is the legal duty of the regulator of these 33 countries. 2 I know. Monetary Authority of Singapore and Hong Kong Monetary Authority, one we have in India. How effective is Indian regulator? You know very well. Nothing happened, only money will work. It's a moral duty of 33 minus India. So total 32. It's a moral duty of the 32 regulators that they need to come forward and take a stance. Else, we would be setting up a precedence that you do whatever and nothing is going to happen. And if this precedence is set up, then this precedence will go till the long, and this would not only dilute the respect of the regulator, but it would surely degrade the value of the startup in the eye of an investor. And we all know on time to time basis that the total number of deals is happening in the startup sector is reducing at a very faster pace. Volume might be growing, but the deals are reducing. So the people, those who really entitled for that money, they are actually not getting. The people, those who are not entitled, they are getting. Let's see how things work out, but one thing is very clear that now the Ponzi scheme is very near to end. With this, we thank you very much. You know my mobile number, which is +91 9899242978. You know our fixed income platform, www.fixedincome.global. But before closing this video, I would like to tell you one thing is that Treasury Consulting is going as a virtual banking in Singapore and Switzerland. We are in constant touch with MAS, Monetary Authority of Singapore, and FINMA, which is Swiss regulator, and soon we will file for that. Our destiny to be a bank is not very far, and we thank you very much for the trust. And probably this month we're going to be releasing our financial statements in Singapore, and we're expecting not less than 30% of net profit in the very first year. Have a good time.